know what the Mosasaurus was. It was in the Jurassic Park, right? It was that big thing that came out the water. We seen it. Look, y'all like Holla. You ain't did Tear Zoo in like 4 months. Well, I'm back, all right? You know what I'm saying? So, stop complaining. Let's get it.
So when the metal hit his mug, he just sunk in place. 100K Holla, chillin' Bahamas. Come home to your crib and throw in your mama.
What is good, HollaSquad? We are the latest squad on the YouTube platform. Listen, today we are back with another reaction, and we got how the Mosasaurus broke the game. Now, apparently, this was like a sea demon, all right? This thing was mad big, was out here swallowing everything, all right? You know that one girl in your school? Never mind. Anyway, y'all like, comment, subscribe. We about to hop into this, you know what I'm saying? So, let's get it. Gotta get our education on. Oh, that boy pulling up. My man boxing up T-Rex. That's crazy. We got Indy in the building. What's good? You can't find them, kid.
The dinosaur clips in this video are from documentaries you can find on CuriosityStream.
Yes,
more on them at the end of the video. Mosasaurus, one of the most feared marine builds in the history of the game.
Sheesh.
The Mesozoic expansion is often referred to as the Age of Reptiles. And while it is true that the Archosaurs, the reptile faction containing builds like the dinosaurs, pterosaurs, birds, and crocodiles, did indeed dominate the Mesozoic,
Facts.
the same cannot be said for the other faction of reptiles, the lizard. For them, it was quite the opposite. They spent a good portion of that expansion's metagame getting griefed hard by the top-tier dinosaurs and pterosaurs. However, they did eventually adapt, and by the end of it, there was a lizard just as powerful as the most overpowered dinosaurs, the Mosasaurus. But how did the lizard player base adapt in order to survive the hostile
They got it in that water, my boy.
dinosaur meta? Let's look at the specific traits that the ancient lizard mains spec'd into in order to gain a foothold in the Mesozoic meta. Lizards tend to have below average base stats. Their bite attacks aren't very powerful, usually only used for grabbing targets below their weight class, like insects and other small builds. They don't usually incorporate other combat techniques into their build like sharp claws, venom, or team strategies either, and instead try to rely on more janky gimmicks like intimidating frills, detachable tails, and tether grabs to get by. This works because their cold blood requires a lot less food to keep their playthrough going, so they don't actually need to be that active or powerful in order to avoid starvation. However, this isn't true for all lizard builds. The Monitor Lizard faction, which includes famous high-tier lizards like the Komodo and Parenti, break with that trend and spec into faster metabolism.
Boy, he smacked the sense into that boy, no cap.
Ramping up their base stats, but forcing them to play a bit more actively. It was this player base that developed the early Mosasaur build by avoiding the common gimmicks other lizard mains went for, and instead choosing a difficult, unconventional set of abilities, including water mobility and, most surprisingly, the live birth respawn perk. Having a terrible, completely one-sided matchup against dinosaurs and pterosaurs meant that when the pressure was on, the Monitor Lizard player base's best option wasn't to run, nor was it to hide. Their best option was to completely switch up their playstyle and become a marine build. This synergized extremely well with their live respawn perk, because it let them avoid the spawn killing that was so oppressive to the other reptiles at the time. While builds like the turtle frequently—
I was about to say something so dumb, alright? I was about to be like, bruh, why they out here eating the eggs? Like, you don't get no, you know what I'm saying, no real stuff from that, but we be eating eggs, so, you know, it's kind of, yeah.
Got their nests raided. The Proto-Mosasaurus build could respawn in
was
water
good.
away from the dinosaur spawn killers, but in too shallow of water for top-tier sharks and fish to grief them. It was actually the perfect environment for them to thrive in, and eventually they just ended up staying in the water and not even bothering with returning to the terrestrial server to hunt.
Okay.
Their wide-hinged jaws, which were decent at grabbing prey on land, were perfect for gulping down fish. Their success really started to snowball from here. The more evolution points they spent on water mobility perks, the more points they earned and were able to put right back into those upgrades. And they were such efficient hunters that they could support the added cost of gigantism.
That's
Mosasaurus
crazy.
shot up to a dominant top-tier spot faster than almost any other build in the history of the game, outcompeting ichthyosaurs in the process, and driving them to drop their characters entirely in favor of more viable marine builds.
That's tough.
Mosasaurus mains had everything they needed to dominate the late Cretaceous meta. So let's go through all the things that made them so broken. Their first OP trait is also their most obvious one, their bite strength, which was on par with that of a T-Rex. It's hard to overstate how devastating a bite from Mosasaurus was, but suffice it to say that the other top
Like
tier
I
ocean
told
predator
y'all, I
builds
never
at the
wanna go
time
in the ocean,
would
bro.
all
Never.
get one-shot by the Mosasaurus's bite. Zifactinus, one of the most powerful fish builds in the history of the game, paled in comparison to the Mosasaurus' strength. The Ammonite, a cephalopod that went for a tank-style build, probably had the best armor of any ocean build at that time.
Oh my
but even
God.
their shells weren't sturdy enough to save them from the crushing bite of a mosasaur. Obviously, its size was equally as overpowered, but for reasons you might not expect. You see, because of its immense size, Mosasaurus wasn't particularly
Hold up. No. Ain't no way my man's is that big with that. Pause. All right, pause. No. You know what I'm saying? Look. Ain't no way my man that big with a stealth stat like that. How are you supposed to survive? Huh?
mobile. It generally had to ambush other players in order to land a hit with its overpowered jaws. Even tank builds like the Ammonite could outspeed it if they saw it coming. However, being the
Hey, look. I'm not getting in the water with none of these animals that Tierzu be telling me about. It's not happening.
biggest ocean build in the entire server has one very important advantage. It gives you control over the surface of the water. See, the surface of the water is one of the most advantageous positions to be in when attempting to ambush another player who is above the surface.
Dang.
The reflective surface of the water grants a
tough.
massive stealth bonus, making it easy to get within striking range of players who would normally be able to escape easily due to their high mobility. This is a double-edged sword though, as being on the surface of the water leaves you vulnerable not only to attacks from the marine players below, but also from aerial hunters above, both of which there were no shortage of in the Cretaceous meta. This disadvantage is pretty much nullified by the Mosasaurus' size though. The main enemy of the giant unkillable behemoth style build, at least in the late game when they've already reached their full size, is starvation, not attacks from players. Mosasaurus
I'm glad this
abused
got
this
nerfed,
tactic
bro.
to the absolute limit, frequently taking down even the most powerful dinosaur builds in the game if they ever got careless at the water's edge, and also turning the tables
tough.
on the exact pterosaur builds that specialize in punishing marine players who stray too close to the water's surface. The last important factor in their success
This is one of
a
the most OP
continuation
things
of
I've
the
ever
ability
seen
that
on
they
this
spec
channel,
into
bro.
as lizards, live birth. Mosasaurus retained this ability and expanded upon it by speccing into the parental instinct trait. Pretty much the only time Mosasaurus players were ever vulnerable was during the start of their playthrough, when they didn't have the size necessary to shield them from attacks. This is when the other top-tier ocean builds, like Zifactinus, would launch their assaults on the Mosasaur player base. As smaller lizards, these players would stay in the safety of water that was too shallow for Zifactinus to approach. But even at level 1, Mosasaurus was too large for that, and so without the protection of mother Mosasaur players, Zifactinus would absolutely demolish any hope of survival. But with their help, Mosasaurus' dominion over the Cretaceous ocean meta was basically untouchable. Of course, we all know how the devs reacted to the meta becoming
Shout out to the devs, alright?
so over-centralized around a select few overpowered builds.
Get 'em
But
outta
hopefully
here.
this video is still useful as an example of how low-tier builds can rise to total dominance with only a few clever build choices and advanced techniques. Who knows what the next breakout success will be
Look.
in the modern Anthropocene meta.
We don't need another one, devs. All right, whatever patch you got, whatever update, you know what I'm saying, to bring new players into the game, don't do it. All right, we don't need anything else walking around competing with us. Okay, listen.
By the way, the Mosasaurus CGI in this video is from a fantastic new documentary called Amazing Dino World.
Yes, sir.
It's a mini-series that tells the stories
All right, look, chat. Look, we got our little education in today. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Curiosity Stream, Tierzu, all of that. But first of all, let's thank the devs. You know what I'm saying? Most of anything, because if them things were still floating around, imagine being on a Carnival cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, and a Mosasaurus is like, that joint got at least like 800 1,000. It got like 1,000 people on there. All right. This could feed us for a minute. Let me go knock that boat. And they got meat on the boat. Pause. You know what I'm saying? But they got like actual food on the boat. We can eat that. We can eat the humans. You know what I'm saying? They eating everything. We don't need the Mosasaurus back, bro. All right, listen. Scientists out there, if you see the strength of certain animals increasing a little bit too fast, get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? The dead, we ain't even got to wait on the devs. Let us know. We going to box them up. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about this down below. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Peace.
I know the deal. Who am I to think that you jokers will keep it real? When your whole career is built upon what you steal. I got my ear to the ground, I hear the rumblings. Your empire crumbling. You got a bag and fumbled it. The outcast outlast everyone.